It's been 15 years, and I'm going to tell you the truth, okay? Hey, y'all. Thank you for watching my channel. This is Nika from Shackles Off TV. I want to talk to you and have a real conversation about my experience as a novice real estate investor. This is a very revealing video because at a young age, I was able to get 4 homes within a short period of time. My first house, of course, was the house that I lived in that eventually turned into investment property, which me and my ex-husband, which is my children's father, who's now deceased, we purchased in Decatur, Georgia. It's a 5-bedroom, 3-4 bath. And we purchased that house in 2002. So I want to say it was October of 2002. And we divorced in January of 2006. After I've had my oldest son, who was born in 2003, and my youngest son, who was born in 2005. Then me trying to, show him that I don't need him, I purchased 3 houses after that, after my divorce. The first one was a property that was already had a tenant in it. I found it on the Georgia MLS, and it seemed good. It was a house that was already getting a steady flow of income. I think I'm trying to remember how much I paid for it. I have to go back into my records. It wasn't more than 100 and something thousand back then. This was in 2006, I believe. To go back and check my records. It was by Greenbrier. If anybody from Atlanta knows, not too far from Tyler Perry's studio, his first set of studios, not far from Greenbrier Mall. And I purchased that with a tenant in it. My mortgage was only, before taxes and insurance, it was only $800. And I was getting 12 from Section 8, but that's before taxes and insurance. So I was probably only cash flowing like 200 or so, if that, per month. And I'm going to tell you what the problem is with that one. Then after that, I purchased a house, I want to say in Connolly, Georgia, from a coworker of mine whose mom was actually going through dementia. And so she sold the house to me. I wasn't really looking for this particular house, but I think I did it because I just couldn't get the credit easily, to get it. I was using hard money. So using hard money loans, which is like investor loans, which have a higher interest so that you can, fix the properties. And then I would refinance it, which was pretty simple to do back then. You just had to have at least about $5,000 and some credit. And you could do that pretty easily around that time. I want to say that was also in 06. I believe that was in 06. And then I want to say my last property that I purchased was another property in Decatur, Georgia. All these were brick homes, 2-story. So all these were 2-story homes. And then the last one was in a nice settled neighborhood, older home, but not far from South DeKalb Mall, if you know anything about DeKalb County in Atlanta. And it was a 4-bedroom, I want to say 2.5 bath. So I was happy because at the time, mind you, let me see, that was 2006. So I was about to hit 30. I hit 30 in December of 2006. So I was like trying to get all this stuff before I turned 30. It's so funny because I have students of mine who are just getting in close to 30. You know what I mean? Because I've been teaching. This is actually going into my 16th year. But I would not be a teacher if I did not fail in real estate. And I actually failed as a real estate investor, partly because I was emotional and there's a lot of mistakes. Now, I want to talk about, now we have social media, we have YouTube, and people, there's tons of people that's pushing courses, and a lot of them I used to follow. I actually used to be a member of the Georgia Real Estate Investors Association, which I highly recommend them if you're in Georgia, because you do need to be a part of a mastermind group to network. And a lot of stuff, especially in Atlanta, is sold off market. I do want to let you know, I started off being a real estate investor before I became a realtor. I am actually a realtor in the state of Georgia. Here's my evidence, and I can pull up, you can pull up my stuff online. But this is my little realtor magazine, and you can pull up my name and license number 317-802 in Georgia. I am an active agent, but I don't actively sell. I'd rather do referrals. So I know I have friends of mine who are realtors, and I'd rather refer business to them because I am so busy as a teacher, because I am a STEM teacher, which means that my students do a lot of competition. So I just really don't do a lot unless somebody's close to me. Like somebody calls me in and I've been knowing them for years, I will, help them if I have the time. But if I don't have the time, I'm going to call a trusted friend and refer them out. And yes, realtors get commission from referrals if that person ends up purchasing. But back to my story. I bought all the courses. Back in the day, you probably see a lot of people online. This is one of them. It says Fair but Firm Landlording Techniques, Property Management, Wright Thurston. Now, I don't really hear his name much. I bought a lot of courses like this back in the day. You would go to a seminar, and people still go to seminars and do this, and you would purchase, people would pitch you, tell you what to do and what you're not doing right and what you need to do, and then they upsell you. So anytime something like an event is free, or let's say you don't pay that much for the event, whoever is speaking is going to upsell you. That's the name of the game, and there's more money from selling courses, even in today's time, 2023, about to go into 2024. But it's not a lot of people that's being brutally honest about it doesn't work for everybody. And I would honestly say, I believe I'm too nice to be a landlord. That's just not my calling, This right here, I had the book, but I didn't apply the stuff in the book. You understand? I was, at the time when I purchased my real estate, I knew I could do. I knew my credit was good. But emotionally I was unstable because I had my little kids. And my boys were only Roderick was Junior was 3. He had 3 because he's born in 2003. And then Emmanuel, my youngest son, was, they're 22 months apart. So he was a baby. He was 1. And I'm trying to do all this. And I just got a divorce, which was devastating because I never anticipated getting a divorce. And I was just very hurt. Honestly, when I look back at my life then, I was depressed. And I was depressed for like 3 years. And even though I always had people in my life, males in my life, even after my divorce, I was dating and, got in a wrong relationship, but we won't talk about that. That's another story. I just wasn't in my right mind to be a landlord and to even recognize that the market was about to tank, right? So this is when, so in 2006, this is before the market crash. The market started crashing around late 07 to 08. And then I didn't start teaching in public school to 2008. So I had left. I was working at a steady job. I had a really good job. I was working at Verizon Wireless. I had been working there at the time for like 7 years because I started in 1999 when it was GTE. And then I built my credit up, saved some money in 401k, and I took that money and started investing in real estate, taking out $5,000 at a time. I know people tell you shouldn't take out of your 401k, but I wanted to be this real estate guru, tycoon. And I still think that real estate is a great place to park your money. But I would approach it totally different now. My approach is totally different than it was then. I'm not trying to quickly acquire things. I believe in, okay, get this property and pay it all the way off. I don't like to have the debt of the property. So I have always been a proponent of multiple streams of income. And if you've seen any of my other videos, I have talked about that, especially for teachers, because people I think some people who know me as a teacher, they probably like, she is so crazy. Like, they probably think that, but they don't understand that I didn't start off as a teacher. I started off in the business world, and I've been around, entrepreneurs, most of my life. And so I just never saw myself as being like a career teacher. Even when I went to started teaching in 2008, I didn't anticipate staying in education past 5 years. Then, because they was like, oh, if you do 5 years, and I started off teaching special ed, which was fairly easy to get into. All I had to do was read some books and take a test. And I had already had a college degree. At the time in Georgia, all you needed was a 2.5 GPA from college and passed the test for teaching tests. And I did all of that. I had all that. So I had my first interview. I got the job, and I started off as a middle school teacher. But going back to where my real estate career started, I called myself trying to flip houses, and that didn't work. I wasn't able to, I didn't have enough money, or there was enough, I didn't do my math right, okay, to do the higher end upgrades to get those houses flipped, right, to sold. So I had to hold on to the property. So I wasn't like a house flipper, even though that's what I wanted to do. I ended up having to hold those houses. And most of the houses did not really cash flow. If they did cash flow, it was maybe $50, $100. At that time, it wasn't much. I literally had about $600,000. This was in 2006, 2007. I had about $600,000 worth of property, which was about 4 houses at the time. If I were to still have all 4 of those houses, that portfolio would be double, right? So if I was able to hold on, but I did not hold on. I actually, be honest, let those houses foreclose. And I'm going to tell you why I did it. Well, so as I said, I was in the right state of mind to purchase it. But I purchased it and I held on to it. And then the next year I called myself, well, I got this real estate thing down. I'm going to, and then I was getting a lot of clients for real estate as an agent. And I said, well, and I was also a loan officer at the time. So I said, I don't need this job anymore. I'm going to leave. I'm about to be 30 and I don't want to be working for somebody past 30. I don't see myself doing that. And that was a mistake, because one thing, my overhead was too high. I was paying out about $9,000 a month. That's included all the mortgage payments and credit cards and my lifestyle. And my overhead was too much to take that gamble. What I learned when I did leave, I left Verizon in, I want to say it was April or May of 2007. And mind you, I had 4 houses and 2 kids, and I was a single mother at the time, a divorcee. And after I left, all hell broke loose. I had, at the time, I think I had about 10 houses under contract that I was going to list, or I had purchasers. I think only 2 or 3 of those closed. So one month I probably cash flowed, right after I left, I probably cash flowed like 10 or 12,000, which was a lot back then. But the next month it was only 1,000. And if you know anything about leaving a corporation, at the time, when I worked at Verizon, my insurance was only $20 a month for a family plan because I was working there. When I left with Cobra, it was like $900 and something. It was crazy. I did not anticipate this. So what happened? The girl in my Section 8 property, it was always something with her. And if you know anything about Section 8, you have to keep it a certain way. They really can't complain. You got to address the issues really quick. She would call about the smallest thing or something that sometimes I feel like she would create chaos just to, I don't know. I don't know, but that's the way I felt, just to, not pay, have an excuse not to pay her $400. Like, again, Section 8 was paying $800. She only had to pay $400. I felt like she would create chaos to make that. She was always late on that part, which is crazy, right? But I was so green. I was so new. I didn't know. And let me be real with you. I believe there are some people that are on Section 8 that need it, but there's also some people who scam the system, and they know the system and they know how to play the system, okay? I was green. I was a new agent. I was a new, because I got my real estate license. I want to say, was it the same year in 06 or 07? I got to go back and look at my original. But like I said, you're still learning. You don't know anything when you first get your license. And mind you, I was working full time, and I had 2 little kids, 2 little boys. So I was doing a lot, as I normally do. And I think she knew it because she knew I was the landlord. I think the biggest mistake for me is I should have never let them know that I was the landlord. I should have probably went on and hired a property manager, paid the extra money, and I wouldn't been in the rut that I was in. So that house was kind of like, yeah, I got my money from Section 8, so I would pay my mortgage, but I didn't get any extra from it, so it became a headache. The other house I had in Conley, it was a weird floor plan. It was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It wasn't easy to rent out because even though Conley, Georgia is about maybe 25 minutes away from downtown Atlanta, it's just nobody knew of it. People knew about Decatur. It's a little bit closer in. And so I can only break even with that. I didn't cash flow at all. And the first person I put in that house, Lord, she only stayed for 2 months, you know, and I'm being nice. I'm not revealing everything, but I was just desperate to get somebody in because I had to pay these mortgages, you know what I mean? And it was just like, I really wasn't doing my due diligence to get anybody to get it. I didn't really have time to market it and to let it sit. Okay. So I'm telling you these flaws because, you know, I made them, and I made hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes, right? Thankfully, I'm still here, you know, and I'm smart enough to have other streams of income and a degree and things I can fall back on and go back to work, go back, you know, and do the things I can do so I can build back up. And once you know how to build back up, it's easy, right? So with that property, it was like I had to get her out, then I had to get another tenant in, and she didn't even stay 12 months. She only stayed about 6 or 7. Then I got somebody else in, and he wasn't that good, you know. So that one was. Then I had a property, the other property I had in Decatur, not the one that, you know, me and my ex were in. I was still staying in that temporarily, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But the 4-bedroom in Decatur. Got somebody to stay in there. First person who stayed in there, her mom had passed away. And so her mom had like 6 or 7 kids. So she had a social security check that she was using to pay her rent. And that's what she showed me. But, oh my gosh. Her brother ended up playing with the gun and killing the cousin in the house. And I did not know. Somebody had to call and tell me because they said it was on the news and this and that. And I was like, oh my God, I just don't want to put anybody else in it. I think she was the second person who was in it. Now I'm thinking about it. It was another lady who was worked at a hospital that was there, and she was always late. You know, and all these people, except for one, looked like me. Except for one, the first one in Conley, she didn't, you know, she was not my complexion, not my race, but she was just as bad, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it is what it is. I'm just saying what I'm saying because that's my experience, right? So nothing against anybody of another race, or because the people will, it doesn't matter. Skin folks ain't always kin folks, right? Because people do you dirty, it don't matter what color they are. Actually, the best tenants I had were another color, and I'll talk about that later. But anyway, so that was the problem with that house. So the first person didn't work out, to put another person, and they were way worse. And I didn't even go back in that house after that. So let's talk about the house that I had. This is my first house. This is my family. This is my house that I purchased when I was pregnant. Me and my ex-husband, God rest his soul, we purchased when my son was in my stomach, right? I wanted to move back closer to my mom. My mom stayed in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which was maybe 10-15 minutes away. And I wanted to be close because I'm, you know, from Atlanta. I'm a real Georgia peach. I wanted to be close, right? So I bought this beautiful house in Decatur. It was about 3,000, maybe 3,400 square feet. I like space. I like, you know, nice size houses. You know, it had a bedroom downstairs with the full bath. And then it also had 2 stairways, one on the side and one in the middle. When you come in, you can see from upstairs. I just love the floor plan, and I love the house. It was kind of like my dream home, right? But I got a divorce, and then I was like, at the time, I wasn't that savvy with my money. I had 2 mortgages on that house, and the other one, you know, it was the second mortgage was one of those, you know, kind of like, I want to say LIBOR loan, but adjustable rate. And so I was going from paying, they say $1,100 to it was ballooning up to like $1,700, which was a lot of money back then. Now you could not get that house cheaper than maybe $2,500 a month, if not, you know, this is how much it's going to cost. But then that was a lot. So I said, let me put a tenant in it, and I'll just eat and I was able to rent it out for like, I think $1,400 or $1,500 a month. And then I had to pay the other out of my job money. But again, I told you, I left the cash flow machine, right? The steady stream, I left, which I will never do again until I have things paid off, right? Because it, there's something to say. People back in the day, oh, just focus on the one thing. And, people always tell me, like, you do so much, you don't need to, you're not in my pockets, you don't have the same bills, you don't have the same ambition, so you can't tell me that, right? This is what I experienced. So at one point, it just made me even more depressed and overwhelmed. Now that house rented out pretty easily at first. I rented it out to a couple that is not my ethnicity. And they actually stayed for about 4 or 5 months, but they moved from another state. So they didn't know, I guess. They never said it, but it was insinuated. I don't know. They didn't realize because they saw the pictures of the house online and they just loved it. And the neighborhood, but I don't think they realized it was a black neighborhood. Because people, I'll be real with you, people in Atlanta, blacks are upwardly mobile in Atlanta, so the Atlanta area, so, it is what it is, but I don't think so. And so they was like, well, we're just going to move to, I think they moved to Forsyth or Buckhead, I don't know, somewhere. The person, he owned I can't remember everybody's name, it's so long ago. He owned a furniture store. You know how you could buy a store and get that cash flow. So he was just temporarily, he was trying to pay for the whole year, but I was like, no, don't pay the whole year, give you a discount. I should have took it. But anyway, another couple got in and they enjoyed it, and they were paying the rent, consistently until I filed bankruptcy. Y'all, I talked to an attorney because, mind you, I had my LLC and I bought all that property, but I was so done, especially when I heard about the boy killing his cousin by mistake in my property. I never walked my foot back into that house. I wanted that house to foreclose. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. The sale, I didn't want to be, I'm a very honest person. So if somebody tried to sell it, I would say, well, somebody died in the house. I couldn't. So I was like, you know what? I don't need this. I can start over. I let those houses foreclose. I was told by an attorney, like, literally I could not get rid of all this debt because I ended up having like $600 and some $1,000 in debt. I wasn't working, and when I first started teaching, I was only making like 45 or 50,000 back then because I had a master's degree. This was 15, 16 years ago. And so I was like, I can't pay this. You know what I mean? I had moved out. I moved in with my aunt. Then I moved in with my mom, who bought a new house in Gwinnett. And I was like, I can't. That's too much money. I owe too much money. So the houses, they just foreclosed. They let them foreclose. And I was able to, it took a while. This was my decision that I was going to do that. I think I made that decision in 2009 because it just got too stressful, right? Where I felt like I was going to lose it, right? Now I already had that feeling 3 years before from the divorce. And I was like, I'm not going to lose my mind no more. I'm going to have to let it go. And so I did. And I filed bankruptcy, Chapter 7. And I was in 2010, and everything was, wiped out. And I literally got a new start on my credit and was able to build my credit back up to better than it was before, eventually. But y'all, that was a big fail. You talking about, yes, if I was able to mentally figure out how to hold on to those properties, I would be, on paper, a millionaire, right? On paper. But I could not sustain the emotions that I went through, right? Then I was, like I said, I went from getting a divorce to getting into I feel like a worse relationship with somebody else. Not my current husband. I'm not talking about my husband that you all see, but with somebody who I definitely would have never dated if it wasn't for me being hurt. And yeah, that is the truth. I don't think that I would ever had embraced going back to teaching. I just took whatever teaching job I could get because I just wanted a new start. Like I said, I left Verizon in 2007, May of 2007. And then, focus on doing real estate. And the first month I didn't really make enough money to cash flow. I was like, oh, let me go back to corporate, what I know. And so I went to AT&T for a year. And then I was like, I'm tired of working in telecom. Let me do teaching. I have a degree. I can do this. And so that's how I got into teaching, and that's another story for another day. I've had a lot of success as a teacher. It was a big learning curve, and we'll talk about it later. This is a long video. But I should have read the books that I purchased. I spent thousands of dollars on education, but I didn't apply some of it. I applied the things I wanted to and skipped out on the rest. And that was a problem. So I'm not telling you not to invest in real estate. What I'm telling you is everything starts with mindset, right? Everything, right? People look at me, I think, and I don't know, this is me speculating. I am so much different than some of my other coworkers, but part of it because things are always come from your perspective. I have been a full-time entrepreneur. I have worked in corporate, so it's not like I just been teaching, as soon as I got out of college, that's what I was doing. Even though I did, have a stint of where I was, right after college, I was working in a daycare as a pre-K teacher, lead pre-K teacher, and, I worked as a parapro temporarily before working for Verizon. But I still believe in being a real estate investor. I would never manage my own properties again. I would say would never, but I would not be the face. I'm a very empathetic person. I'm a definite empath. So people sob stories and stuff, like, no. You know what I mean? Like I cannot do it. I would have to hire somebody who's more of a shark, and I just got to realize I can't do everything myself. I do own my home now. I did go through a period where I did not. I went through a period of 11 years where I rented. And I was happy with that. I didn't want even though like I said, I've been a real estate agent since 2006, 2007. So I've been actually a real estate agent longer than I've been a teacher, right? But I just did not want the responsibilities of owning a home, and it wasn't until 2 years ago where I purchased a home that I am in now. But it is a lot of responsibility. People try to show you the side of, oh, everything's just great. We're going to be walking on lilies. And baby, you ain't always walking on lilies, right? You're not always walking on lilies. When you're dealing with properties, you're dealing with people who don't want to pay. Some people are professional renters and they have been in the game for a long time. When I purchased the real estate, interest rates were low. Now they are high, and I have a free loan repayment guide from back in the day when I used to do credit repair seminars and workshops when I was a loan officer. Have plenty of them. So if you want one, inbox me and I can possibly mail it to you. And it shows, how much you'll be paying. Your monthly payment would be with whatever interest rate. So that's pretty much it. Right now, I just got this book in the mail. This is by Claude Anderson, ED. He is one of my favorite people to listen to. It's called Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America. And y'all, we do need to purchase some real estate. Let me just say, you at least need to have one property that you own. And why do I say that? Because I lost out on a lot of wealth by not understanding, first of all, buying houses too quick. I should have just kept the house that I had and figured out how to rent out the other rooms, which I did kind of, but that was another story for another day. I'm not going to share yet. Because I had a 5-bedroom. It was just me and my 2 boys. But my house was big enough, I could have done that. And I did, but there was some chaos with that too, right? But if I would have known the things I know now, there's several people on YouTube that gives wonderful advice. One of my favorite podcasts is the Bigger Pockets podcast. And I'm relearning a lot of things that I didn't do right. And it's okay because, I did start over. And if you have knowledge, you can always start over. And it's okay to fail. That's why people look at me and it's like, oh, how can you, be an engineering teacher and this and that and do all these competitions? And yeah, we lose way more than we win. We win too, but we lose a lot. And I'm okay with that because I have lost a lot. Well, that's all I want to say. We're hitting on 30 minutes, but yes, I'm going to check out this book and tell you how it is at the end in a few months. Have a great day. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe.